I'm sure that you guys are familiar with who we are, what is Beatport, because if you sign up for this webinar, you probably heard from us in the last years. But if you don't know what is Beatport, I'm going to give you a quick overview. So basically, Beatport is a download store, and we specialize in electronic music and in high quality audio. It was founded in 2004. Next year, we are going to be turning 20 years. So please keep an eye out for that, because there's going to be a lot of celebration and a lot of activations around the 20th anniversary. And yes, since 2004, basically, we've been supporting DJs, producers, record labels, and their fans. And we have received millions of unique visitors. Every week, we have millions of visitors visiting our store. And I think that's why having your music available on Beatport can be very powerful and can be a marketing tool itself. Of course, to make it into the charts is very important. We know that everyone's keeping an eye on the chart on a weekly basis. And we understand how important it is to make it into the first position of the charts, because it can boost your visibility a lot. But just keep in mind that also to have your music available, it's a marketing tool itself, and it can help you to reach out to wider audiences in different territories and in different countries. But of course, since Beatport was founded, in the last few years, a few other companies, they have joined the Beatport family and the Beatport group. These companies are BeatSource, Loopmasters, Loopcloud, and Plugin Boutique, and also AmpSuite and Label Radar. BeatSource is the store for open format DJs. They host other genres such as pop, hip hop, reggaeton, and of course, electronic music. Loopmasters, Loopcloud, and Plugin Boutique is the home for producers and the place to go if you're looking for some inspiration, sounds, sample packs, and pretty much everything when it comes to produce a track. AmpSuite is our in-house distribution company. It's a company that we acquired last year, and it's a great platform for managing your record label. They have amazing technology. I'm going to be talking about AmpSuite a little bit more into detail later in the presentation. But if you're looking for a distribution company to manage your label, to manage your royalties, accounting, to also send promo emails, definitely check it out. And if you need any information, we can put you in contact with the AmpSuite team here at Beatport. And last but not least, Label Radar, which is a company that joined the Beatport family last year, and is a fantastic tool that helps producers and record labels to streamline the demo submission process. At the moment, there are thousands of artists using the platform, and also we have some labels such as Defected, Armada, and Juna Beats, Toolroom, just to name a few, that they are using AmpSuite when it comes to discover and sign new talent. So definitely, if you're curious about these companies, check their websites, because they offer a lot of opportunities to support your music journey. And then I think we can pass into the next slide. Raf, I think this one is for you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Marina. I'm kind of curious, since we're going to be speaking about genres, maybe we can use the chat. I'm totally freestyling, but I just thought about this now. If you could maybe just type in the genre that your label is associated with. I'm just curious to see, if this is more techno, house, melodic, just curious to see if it's a bit of everything. Wow, look at this.
Amazing.
Okay, so it's really very eclectic today. Then we have everything. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, so Beatport is 32 genres, 33 genres if you include the DJ Tools page. We didn't have 32 genres 20 years ago. I think we started with way less than that. But one of our main mission and passion is the categorization of music, and the correct categorization, the accurate categorization, making sure that all the music that is available on Beatport has a home, and that it's not lost somewhere in electronica or dance or other genres. In the past, before we launched these new genres, such as like melodic house and techno as an example, it was all over the place. It was in progressive house, it was in deep house, it was in dance, and it was just like hard to find. So that's why we created the page, so that it had a spotlight. And this is something that we're really, really passionate about, making sure all genres are available, and that all the music has a home. a dedicated space, a top 100, feature possibilities, and getting as much spotlight as possible. In the past few years, we have actually launched quite a few genres. We've changed things around. We've moved things, we've renamed things. I know some of you made fun of us for it, but the idea here is really to help, to promote, to give spotlight, and really the main message is that we really care a lot about this. And sometimes labels might take things personally because their genre was changed, but we're really doing this with the best interest at heart for the label, for the artists, and for the coherence and accuracy of the genre as well. Also, we're doing that to recognize cultures, recognize communities. I just saw that there's a new genre in the comments, Amapiano. Amapiano is a great example because Amapiano is a massive culture. It is the biggest culture for electronic dance music as well in Africa and South Africa. And it was just popping up left and right, left and right. And so we looked into it and we were checking, what is this Amapiano? And we realized the scope and the passion and the culture behind it. And that's why we wanted to give a space for it. And we launched it on Beatport. The same thing, recently we launched a new trance page. We felt that the trance page was misrepresented on Beatport. It didn't have all of the shades of trance. And so that's why we created a new one. And for the deeper, more raw and hypnotic shades of trance, which has been really welcomed by the community, and we've had amazing feedback. So we're really happy about that. And we did similar things with genre cleanups with techno, for example, where we only had one techno page, and one techno page is not enough for all of techno. Same with house, we don't have enough space for one genre. So we created multiple genres, subgenres, if you want to call it this way, to give it a bit more visibility, and have all of the different types have this space of its own, basically. So our top 10 genres are tech house, melodic house and techno, peak time driving, drum and bass, dance electropop, Afro house for the first time ever entering the top 10, which is incredible. It's really nice to see that and how it's grown, and we're really happy to have it on Beatport. Deep house, progressive house, and indie dance. So those are our best-selling genres. Top 10. Unfortunate that jungle is no longer represented. I hear you and I feel you. I love jungle. Jungle is amazing, and our curator loves jungle, and we're also looking into subgenres and ways to host this music as well. Bear with us. We're trying our best. It's not easy to launch a genre. It takes time. It takes a lot of effort, and we're gonna do our best for that. But point taken, definitely. So these are the genres, and there's a team of curators, not robots, as some people think. This is not an algorithm. We have an international team of passionate music lovers, curators, tastemakers. They're all over the world, from, as you can see on the slides, London, Liverpool, Berlin, Barcelona, Mexico, Buenos Aires, Los Angeles, Paris, Sydney, soon South Africa and Africa, potentially, some countries in Asia. So we're always looking to expand and have our eyes and visibility throughout the entire world. Everybody in the team is a DJ. They're a producer. They're a label owner. They're an absolute expert of their subculture and genre. They're very knowledgeable. I wouldn't go as far as saying they're the all-seeing eye. No one's perfect, but there's a lot of passion and care and dedication and going with these genres. And we're always, trying our best for the best interests of the artists and the label, getting the music in the right places, featuring up and coming, mainstream, underground, known, unknown, brand new, and really showcasing good music for our audience, so that they can use the music and play it in their sets and in the club. So that's, just to give you a little overview of the curation team, the genres. It's definitely a team of passionate people, and sometimes they care a little too much, and I have to manage that. But it's part of the job, and it's very fun. So I'm going to move on to our first topic, which is which I thought was quite important to bring up before getting into the details of the presentation of really how to get visibility on Beatport. Actually, this is also a way to get visibility on Beatport, but it's more, I guess, at a strategic level, and it's to really. I'm here to kind of guide you through asking yourself some questions, basically, and those questions, I feel, and we feel at Beatport, those are very important questions to ask yourself. When you want to start promoting and releasing music on a record label, your record label, potentially other people's record labels, but mostly your record label. The first question is, why do you want a record label? It's pretty simple. Why? And what do you want to accomplish with it? Why are you doing it? What's your goal? I think it's pretty important to think about it. And it will also help you make better decisions for your label when you know exactly why you're doing this. And I think that a clear vision is extremely important in terms of developing, growing, and creating a good business for you. I'm going to move on to the next part with some few bullet points about this vision, which can be incorporated in that, and that is the brand identity, the core artists, the social media strategy, and the visuals and storytelling. That's, I think, some 4 extremely important points to think about when you're thinking about your vision and your goal. Starting with brand identity, it's really, who are you and what do you represent? I mean, that's very important. And, what is your personality and the message that you're going to convey from your record label, but potentially to your party? Is it, do you have a strong brand? Will people looking at your label recognize your party? Will they know it's your party? Will people looking at your flyer, at your sticker, at your t-shirt, at your bag, a strong brand identity, I think, is extremely important. It's marketing. It's beyond the music, but the music can also have a brand and a style. If you look at some of these big labels or underground labels and really known labels, you can recognize their style, and you can recognize the A&R, and you can recognize the sound, and that also is part of your brand identity. Core artists. So who are you signing, and why are you signing them? Are they going to sign again? Is this just a one time? Do you have a plan for their growth? Are they going to be the DJs performing at your parties? Do you have a strategy? Do you have some thinking that is happening behind just signing artists? And I think that's really important to think about. And also just not signing music for the sake of signing it. You should really think about core artists, a team, a family, and work together. Social media strategy. Obviously, we all know social media is part of the game, and it's more than ever. Some people are sad about it. Some people love it. It depends who you ask, but it's part of the game, and it's important these days. What is your strategy behind social media? Do you have special animation every time you have a release? Do you do reels? Do you do posts? Do you do stories? Do you remind your audience? Do you make video content? If you have a track that's out and your artist is performing the keys or playing the drums or sequencing or sound design tweaking in the studio, we'll push that on Beatport. If it's done well, nothing stops us. There's no rules that will say we're not going to post it. If the quality follows the guidelines, we'll post it on Instagram. We'll post it on TikTok. Some PR, engagement, getting different types of content to support your music. I think that's extremely important today, and that sometimes will make the difference in sales. And sales will mean chart positions, and chart positions will mean more visibility, and then more visibility means more sales, and so on and so forth. Visuals and storytelling. I mean, I kind of just touched upon that right now, but recognizable visuals and designs. When I look at this logo, I know immediately, that's this label. Or I look at this design artwork, yeah, I know this label for sure. Back then when it was just vinyl, I think a lot of people recognized the cover. They recognized the circle and the vinyl. They didn't really remember the name or the artist. It's just very visual. Like, for example, when when I'm curating the house page, sometimes I don't recognize an artist and I don't recognize a label because they're new or because I just haven't heard from them. But a lot of the time, I'll know immediately it's house because of the cover, because it has been designed in a way to resonate with the audience of house. And I think that it's really important to have visuals that resonate with your audience, just to fit with the genre. So that's, I think also quite important. And, all the points that I just mentioned, I think, incorporating all of these into your vision will create, the right energy and the space for you to work and developing your business. And I think that all of that will naturally unfold. And of course, when we see that as curators, as Beatport, we want to help you. We are here to help you. We want to get the visibility. We want to help you boost and develop. And we're not saying this is the only things you have to do in order to get visibility, but this is definitely a help. And it's definitely a help for you and a help for your audience to recognize you, to follow you, to be intrigued, to be, engaged. And I think all of this is extremely important. So actually, this leads perfectly into the next topic that Marina will be speaking about, and that's now how to get your music on Beatport. So we're going from your vision and your goal to actually getting it done and going to get this music there. So Marina, giving it back to you.
Thank you, Rob.
Oh.
Thank you so much for sharing those insights. So yeah, before I start talking about how to get visibility on Beatport, we wanted to mention a few ideas on how to get your music on Beatport, because I don't know if you guys are emerging artists or if someone is planning to release their first release soon. So just to give you an idea on how we work at Beatport, basically, if you want to have your music available in the store, you need a distribution company. Either one that focuses on self-release artists, especially if you are in the early stage of your career, or if not, you can release music on a label that has a contract with a distribution company that delivers music into Beatport. If you're wondering which are these distribution companies, they are basically the same ones that they distribute music to DSPs, such as Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, or Amazon Music. For example, you probably heard about DistroKid or TuneCore for self-release artists. We work with them. And another ones that they have contracts with labels can be, for example, Labelworks or Aboveboard or K7, Sequence, Believe, Dictis, just to name a few of them. I can't remember what's the number, but we work with hundreds of distribution companies. And we have a list of these distribution companies on our website. If you want to check all of their websites, also reach out to them, ask them for a quote, as they are going to be taking a percentage of the sales that you generate on Beatport, and see which ones are the ones that are suiting your business plan better. Then I think the next 2 points are, Raf, how to choose a distribution company and how we work with them. So over to you, Raf.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as Marina mentioned, the distributors, they are our main partners in receiving content onto our platform. So if it wasn't for them, we would have very, very little content. So we really work hand in hand with them, and we have, over the years created some amazing relationships with them. And we do our best to work well with them and get as much exposure as possible for the music that they highlight to us. They send us priorities each week. So each week, each month, every day, actually, it's always, this is a new release, this is a release, this is a release. They highlight all of this for us. And then through those priorities, we have a system in place internally where the curation team will then go through all of these priorities and basically decide on the features. If it's going to be a banner, if it's going to be a new release, if it's going to be a hype feature, a staff pick. And yeah, this is basically how we work with them in terms of releases. But we also work with them for extra things that are not necessarily only store features, like, for example, editorial coverage. They will come to us and pitch us like, an anniversary of a label. And so could we do something special for them? Could they be label of the month? Can they get a feature? Could we do something on Beatportal, a stream, various kinds of things like that. Social media coverage. Can we get a video? Can we get something on TikTok, on Instagram? Could you feature those DJ charts? Things like that, various different types of formats that will help benefit their labels. So this is kind of like how we work with them. Marina, maybe did I miss anything, or if you have any other?
Just to add, like basically the label relations team, what we do is to work with distribution companies. Basically my team, everyone has different accounts. We have weekly meetings with them, monthly, if they are based in London, or if we are traveling into a city that they are based, we try to meet with them face to face, and we build a relationship with these distribution companies, and they present to us all of your priorities on a weekly basis. And then our job as label relations manager is to pass the information to the curation team. Of course, curators, they also know artists personally, record labels or distribution companies. So sometimes we are both CC on the same email just to talk about a campaign that they are trying to pitch to us. So that's why having a good relationship with your distribution company is very important, because they are going to be the ones pitching for your music on your behalf. And that's something that you need to keep in mind all the time.
Great. Thank you. I knew I missed something. The next point is, how to choose. I think I may have flipped that. So how to choose a distribution company, depending on your label. Well, it's very important to choose a distribution company that represents your sound, obviously, and that has labels who have similar music and profile as yours, somebody that really understands your culture, understands where you're coming from, and knows a thing or two about the music that you're trying to push forward. They'll have connections, they'll have advice, they'll have all sorts of things that can help you get your music in the spotlight in certain playlists and certain features, be that Beatport or not Beatport. There's not just Beatport. Obviously, distribution companies work all around with all of our competitors, but ultimately the idea is to get your music successful, and it's to get you to benefit from it and grow a career or a business, and we're all about that. We really care about the well-being of our labels, and I think that's why a distribution company is extremely important to find the right one. I also think it's extremely important to be ready before approaching them. As I mentioned earlier, what's your vision? What's your goal? Do you have that vision in place? Are you ready? Those are things you have to really consider before approaching, because you could miss out on an opportunity. The distributor might think you're not worth it or not ready, and they'll maybe ask you to come back, or they'll just pass, and so being ready is extremely vital, in my opinion. Coming with a plan, a release schedule, a brand, a visual identity, like I mentioned. Additionally, I would even suggest meeting them in person at a conference like ADE, for example, Brighton Music Conference, or IMS. They're always going to be there, and those events are happening worldwide. Even if you're coming from a smaller country, there are electronic music festivals and conferences everywhere. Even in South America, it's booming market. It's growing. In like Panama, I saw somebody was in Panama. There's definitely the Cross Festival in Panama, which has definitely some distributors and people that are out there to spot the talent, to spot the labels, to again help grow and help the community and the industry. And there are definitely a lot of distributors out there that will do a great job for you. And as you know, in our mission to represent the entire ecosystem of dance music culture, we are also in this space. And this is why we recently acquired Amp Suite to have that layer of distribution and professional tools for labels. And I think Marina will actually give us a little case study and talk about Amp Suite a little bit more now.
Yeah, thanks, Raf. So yes, I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, Beatport acquired Amp Suite last year. Amp Suite is now our in-house distribution company, and we have a dedicated team looking after labels here at Beatport. They look after the releases, they do the pitching to the Beatport team, but also they do the pitching to the other DSPs such as Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon Music. And they are also looking after your statements and pretty much everything when it comes to like music distribution. And it's a great platform because the technology that they have, honestly, is amazing. When we started discovering Amp Suite last year, we were all amazed. And if you're looking into a platform that provides you with tools for creating your DJ promo or organizing your statements, your royalties, I really encourage you to check it out. And also, if you guys are wondering how it looks, how easy it is to use it, you can always reach out to the Amsuite team here at Beatport, because they can set you up with like a test account or like a demo account. And also you can give it a try. So yeah, please do, if you are now in the process of like either changing or finding a new distribution company. And just to add something to what Raf said before, I will say, like, trying to meet your distribution company in real life, that's very important. You need to keep in mind that these distribution companies, they work with hundreds of labels, sometimes thousands. So it's very important to build that relationship, to have a strong brand, to try to stand out. And don't stress too much if you can't go to AD or IMS, because we all know that sometimes traveling can be very expensive, or maybe you are in a different part of the world. But as Raf said, there are music conferences pretty much in every country. And these distribution companies, they go, even if they are very small, because they're always trying to close new deals with labels. So yeah, try to meet them in person. That's very important. And I think, yeah, that takes us into the next module, which is how to get visibility on Beatport. Probably one of the $1 million questions: how can I get featured on Beatport? How can I get a banner? How can I make sure that the curators, they listen to my music? Well, pay attention to these things that I'm going to mention, because they are very important, of course. And I think Raf can also confirm this. The most important thing is the quality of the music. That's the most important thing. That's the number one thing that the curators, they look for when they are listening to new music, and when they are trying to feature something that is good, is the quality of the music. But of course, if you follow these tips that I'm about to mention, it's very likely that you are going to have some visibility on the store. Raf, I think I need the next slide that has the bullet points. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I'm going to be covering lead time and release schedule, exclusives and pre-orders, social media content, DJ charts, and also marketing information that we try to look when we are listening to new music. So the first thing, lead time. This is very important. I'm sure that if you're working with a distribution company, they already told you, you can just like finish one track, finish the masters, and then send it to the distribution company and hope that it's going to get supported the day after or the week after on Spotify or on a download store. The curators, they are working with a lead time of 3 weeks. So right now they are listening to everything that is coming out next Friday and also the week after. So that's why it's so important to have your music delivered into these platforms ahead of time. Sometimes things can go wrong. Sometimes there are technical issues. Sometimes we need to re-encode an audio. Sometimes, I'm sure this happened to you before, but like it gets attributed into the wrong artist. Those things, they take time. There are actual teams of humans on the content ops teams looking after this, and we need that time. And also the curators, they need time, because we receive more than 30,000 releases every week, which is crazy. And that's why we work with this kind of calendars. Also, the release schedule is very important. And I know that this is something that DSPs, they also pay a lot of attention. Sometimes you release one track, you send it, and you hope that you're going to get some visibility. But actually, curators, they really care about seeing or understanding what's going to be your schedule. If you're going to release an EP later in the year, or if you're also working on some remixes, maybe take some time to put like a marketing plan or like a schedule all together, and try to work with your distribution company and say, hey, this is my plan for this month until the end of the year. How can you help me to put a proper marketing plan together? Because that's something that we like seeing. We like seeing consistency. We like seeing that artists and labels, they have a plan ahead, and it's not just going to be one release, like a spare release in 1 month. Also, something that we pay attention to is Beatport exclusives. Let me explain first what Beatport exclusive is, because sometimes there's so confusion about it. Being exclusive on Beatport means that Beatport is the only download store where the music is available. If you want to have your music available on streaming, that's totally fine for us. You know that we also have playlists on Spotify, and we also feature some of your music on Spotify playlists. But during the exclusivity period, which can be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, or even lifetime, we want to be the only download store where you can download and purchase the track. So that's something important and to keep in mind. Of course, it doesn't make a huge difference, but if a curator is hesitating between featuring a release that is exclusive and the other one is not, and they like both releases, probably the release that is exclusive is going to make a difference and probably is going to help them to make that decision, because we are also trying to save some spots in the banner section, in the new release section, in best new tracks, and also weekend picks to content that is exclusive. And also to give you an example of lifetime exclusivity, because obviously some people sometimes think, hey, I want to have my music available in other stores in the future. Well, keep in mind that a really good opportunity to have in a lifetime Beatport release exclusive will be extended mixes. You need to keep in mind that we are a store for DJs and we want our content to be DJ friendly. So radio edits or tracks that are 3 minutes long, we know that they perform really well on streaming. We know that the algorithm wants to prioritize that kind of content. But as Raph said, we don't have any algorithms. We have a human team listening to music and also highlighting music to put it in front of these DJs. And we want to feature tracks that are DJ friendly. So for example, if an extended mix is not going to work on streaming, but you want to release it, maybe check with your distribution company and see if you want to make it lifetime exclusive on Beatport, because we work like that with a few labels. Another thing to keep in mind is pre-orders. I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with this, but basically a great way to promote your track ahead of time is to do a pre-order campaign. Pre-order campaigns, they can be set up through your distribution company, and you can have your track available for pre-order up to 28 days before the release date. That means that during that time, the track is going to be available for preview, which is 30 seconds in the store, and users can purchase it, but not download it. They're going to be able to download it on the release day. And you probably are wondering, like, why would you like someone to purchase the track if they can download it until the release date? Well, basically all the sales that you're going to be generating during the pre-order time, they're going to count toward the charts during the first week of life of that release. So those sales, they're going to count toward the charts, and that's very important. And also, you can share those pre-orders in Twitter, on Instagram, on any other social media platform, and you can start generating some sort of traffic and sales around that release. So definitely something to keep in mind. Then social media content, if you, as I think Raph mentioned this before, but if you have clips of other artists playing your tracks, yourself playing these tracks in front of an audience, or maybe yourself recording the track in the studio, please have a look at our Instagram page, for example, and our TikTok profile, because right now on Instagram, I think we have over 1 million followers. I can't remember what's the number on TikTok, but I'm sure it's pretty high as well. And if you check, we are constantly sharing content that you guys are submitting to us. We are always trying to push that kind of, those kind of videos, that kind of footage. But also please check the guidelines, because sometimes we receive a lot of content that is not matching the guidelines. It's not guidelines that we just come up with them. It's also guidelines that Instagram are sharing with creators or TikTok. So for example, if a video is too dark, that's not going to perform well on social media. So also keep that in mind when it comes to share content on your profiles. Also videos where you can see the face of the DJ and it's just basically recorded from the back. Apparently that doesn't perform well on social media. So we are trying to prioritize content that has good lighting, that you can see the face of the DJ, that you can see the crowd reacting, because that's also really important when it comes to promote your music. Then we have DJ charts, which can be a little bit confusing because we also have the charts that are based on sales, but basically DJ charts is just a playlist. We like asking artists to put together a DJ chart where they can feature their new release, their new track, their new remix, their new EP. You can also feature pre-orders, so you can create a chart maybe a couple of weeks before your track is going live. And then you can also include other tracks from DJs that you like, from producers that you like, or maybe tracks that have been part of your inspiration when it comes to put together this release, and also tracks that you've been playing a lot during the summer, for example. So be creative when you put together these DJ charts, and also you can submit them to the Beatport team, and we can also give them visibility in the store because we have dedicated spaces on each genre page, and also we have a dedicated page for DJ charts. And then the last point will be marketing information. Of course, if you have any press coverage, if your tracks are being played on radio shows, or if you have any marketing information that you think is relevant for our curation team, please share it with your distribution company because they're going to send it to us. And we also like keeping an eye out on that. And I think that's it. I haven't checked the chat. Probably there are a lot of questions here. We're going to be answering most of them at the end. And also, if you have any questions when it comes to how to get visibility on Beatport, pretty much all of our distribution companies, they have our best practices PDF presentation that they can also share with you. And it has a lot of info there. And also, if you check our label-based page in our store, there's a lot of info there with a lot of links and a lot of examples. So please check it out. And if not, at the end of the webinar, we are happy to answer some of your questions. And I think that takes us to the last module, Raf.
Yeah, thank you, Marina. I just want to add one thing about DJ charts. And it's a very, very important one. I think, sorry for not mentioning it before. You have to use a profile picture. You have to use an artist picture on your chart. Like somebody just sent me a chart in the chat now, and I just looked at it, and it's cover art for the release, which I understand the intent, and I've done it myself, you know, as a mistake. We want to really showcase this as a DJ chart and as an expression of taste from the DJ. So we'll only feature it on the store if it's the face of the DJ used. If the DJ doesn't have a face and uses a mask, have a picture with the mask. If it's an unknown DJ that doesn't want to show their face, or, you know, like find a way to make it somehow like a character or something. So that's just a very important point, because we will not feature it. You know, sometime we'll see a chart from an artist and we'll just change the picture ourselves. But unfortunately, we can't do that for every single chart. It's too much manual effort. But so, and also the linking between, you know, your personal DJ profile and the artist, and in your artist profile, so that it is visible and clickable in the chart, that needs to be done via your distributor, content support. There's a whole process. Maybe Verity, you can link the process if you have that information in the chat, just for people to be able to at least request the linking of the artist profile. I'm happy to commit to helping some of you if you send me a private message now, so it goes faster for you. Just because you attended this webinar, so a little gift. Cool. So we're going to move on to the next one now, which is Beatport hype. The Beatport hype. I know there's a lot of talk about hype, and what is hype, and is it really helping me? And can it actually help my label? Will I benefit from it? So on and so forth. I know this question, it comes up all the time. And I also know that there's some doubt and lack of trust around it. But I'll go into some details to try and maybe clarify and clear up any confusion or skepticism around hype. The way I see it, and I think the way most of us, and if not all of us at Beatport, see hype is as an accelerator. Hype is an accelerator tool for labels. It's a tool that will give you the visibility you might not be, that you wouldn't have had because of the high competition and the lack of space on our storefront. You know, there's 80,000 labels, or sorry, 90,000 labels, 90,000 plus labels on Beatport. We have about 25,000 tracks published each week, and I think sometimes more. During COVID time, we had 35,000, 40,000, 50,000 tracks being published on Beatport. So for a small label, which does not mean bad content, it just means smaller in profile, means smaller in revenue, means smaller in artist roster, etc. It's going to be challenging to compete with these established, famous, big fan base quality labels that are also extremely active and most likely more active than most of the hype labels. And they're delivering releases each week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, sometimes 5 times a day. I mean, it's crazy. Like there's so much content on Beatport. And like I said, there's only so much space that we can use on the store, on banners, on new releases, on staff picks. And it's also quite challenging then to enter the top 100 sales chart where everybody wants to be. Even with a new release feature, even with a feature, it's hard to be on the top 100. An example, sometimes, you know, I'll put a homepage banner of a release I absolutely love. It sounds amazing. Unknown artist. Don't know who that artist is. Labels, never heard of it. But it's just amazing music. I'm going to give it a homepage banner. It's not even going to enter the top 100 of the genre. You know, it's extremely, extremely competitive in getting in those sales. And sometimes the best features don't even get, don't even translate in sales. Most of the time it does, but it's just a rare example, but just to really emphasize on the fact that it's very competitive. So that's why we launched Hype to counter that, really to counter this issue and this problem and this lack of visibility for labels. Since launching Hype, on average, and this is some statistics we looked into, we have about 40% increase in revenue for labels and 84% more visibility. And those visibility comes from various different areas of the store, which I will explain now. So we've created a whole new top 100 sales chart on the homepage, which like gathers all the hype genres, and on the genre pages. And if your label is subscribed to Hype, you'll immediately have visibility via those top 100 charts because it only takes a few sales to actually enter it. Because you're really now competing with the smaller labels who are subscribed, and you cannot subscribe to Hype if you have reached a revenue threshold, which is quite low, meaning that, you know, you're not going to be competing against any big labels because they will simply not qualify for it. A lot of labels actually asked us, can we be in Hype, please, please? But we've refused. We haven't let them. There's been some occurrences when a brand new label from a big artist, you know, starts their label and they go through Hype. I guess it's a bit unfair. Sometimes you'll see Clapton #1 on Beatport Hype. That's because it was a brand new label. It takes not so long for them to fall out of Hype because their revenue will go really quickly above the threshold and then they'll be removed. We have dedicated feature space, so we have banners on Beatport. You'll always see a Hype release there. You'll have new release sections. You'll always see Hype releases there, and then we'll have an entire new module. And I think, sorry, I should probably go into the an entire new module for the Hype releases on the store. And so that in itself is visibility you would not have had ever. Well, not ever, but you know what I'm saying. It's very, very, very tricky. So you have a whole section, you know, on the homepage, we put up to 100 Hype releases, actually more than that, probably like 120, 130 releases on the homepage per week on each genre, the same, if not more. And all of these releases would never have had the prime time. Now there's banners, new releases, Hype modules, and that in itself is the extra visibility. Being in the top 100 charts once you start selling, because once the release falls out of rotation, because we update the store once a week, then your release is not visible anymore. Sometimes in certain genres, you fall out of rotation after a few weeks because there's less content, so we just keep it there. So being in the top 100 is visibility in the top 100 of Hype. And so in essence, this is what the subscription is intended for. It's really that extra visibility, that extra opportunity and ability to be in those charts. We also have, you know, best new Hype chart playlist for all of the Hype genres, where we showcase up to 100 tracks per genre per month. And this is mimicking the best new track section for non-Hype labels. And we also have some editorial features where we promote hype releases and labels on Beatportal. Marketing campaigns where we show the best of hype per quarter. And last but not least, we have a new system that is sending out newsletters about hype releases to our audience, and also notification system that will also notify the labels when their releases get featured. So I know that there's a lot of thought about why this and why that, but hype in itself is a very, very strong tool to accelerate the visibility and ability to make some sales on Beatport. There's a lot of questions I know in the chat, and we have some questions at the end for Q&A, and a lot of them have been on hype, and so I will answer them then as well. And I'm not sure if there's anything else I can add about that for now for hype.
I would like to add something, because some
Marina,
people ask, so yeah, the threshold for hype is that your label has to make less than $15,000 per month, 15. And no, it's not algorithmic. It's managed by the curation team. And also, just wanted to let you know that the curators, they have dedicated hours every week that they spend just listening to hype releases. So that's basically the most important thing about hype, that that curators are going to be listening to hype releases. And also something that is also related to something that we were saying before. Of course, we listen to all the pitches by the distribution companies, but the curation team, they do an amazing digging work in the back end. They spend a lot of hours listening to stuff that is not like a huge priority, stuff that maybe hasn't even pitched to us, listening to hype content, and they spend a lot of hours. And sometimes, yeah, the amount of releases that we see that they are getting featured and that they were not necessarily pitched to us is amazing, because that's pretty much their job, to listen to a lot of music, even if it's not a big priority or if it's not coming from a big label. So I would say that try to give it a chance, see if you like hype, make sure that your label is releasing on genres that are hype eligible, because not all the genres in the store are eligible for hype. But definitely give it a try. And also, there's no compromise on subscribing for 6 months or even a year. You can just give it a try for a couple of months. I would say maybe wait until you have a busy release schedule and then see if it works for you, because we have a huge amount of success stories. We have seen labels that they've grown so much in the last few months and years that they are no longer hype eligible because they make more than $15,000 per year. So we graduated some of them. We wanted to make sure that the charts, they are equal, and you guys are not competing, but you guys are trying to make yourself a space in the charts with labels that they are on the same level. So when we are seeing that labels are way above the threshold, we are graduating them. And also we launched a campaign last year, it was called Hype the Next Level, which is this one that you have here on the presentation. And we offer some of these labels to release a sound pack in collaboration with Loop Cloud and Loop Masters. And also these labels, they sign up for a producer competition on Label Radar, and they sign some of the tracks that they were made with the sound packs. And also I've seen some of those releases that they were signed through Hype the Next Level now getting features in the store because the label has released them. So definitely give it a go. And yeah, I think that's it. I think we should just jump on the questions, Raf, because
you mentioned, it's a really good point that hype also helps you get into the what is it, the spotlight for the curator.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like the curator will know your label from hype, and if you graduate from hype, they will know your label, and you will get featured and continue being pushed, because that is also a purpose for hype. And just last thing, in terms of the curation, if your music is qualitative and it's good and it fits and it ticks all the boxes that we like in terms of the music itself, I guarantee you that it will get featured. Sometimes it just doesn't also get into we don't see it. It will happen, and this is why I also want to encourage the relationship with a distributor and really make them fight for you and get that music in our crosshair so we can see it. But yeah, let's jump into the Q&A section. There are a lot of questions, so we're gonna try our best to answer as much as we can. How much time do we have left? I'm seeing
I think we have only 7 minutes. I don't know if we can, I mean, Linda or Verity, let us know. Can we extend the webinar for 10 more minutes? I'll be happy to stay for 10 more minutes or 15.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. I'm happy to stay on. I'm just gonna go and get started. And that way we don't waste too much time. And then Marina, you and I are following the same list, I believe. So I'll just go down until you. So there's a lot. So why is breaks genre excluded from hype? So we don't purposely exclude it, like because we think it's not a good hype genre, or it's not a good genre, or basically the reason why any genres, there's a question about Afro House as well. Breaks, Afro House, why are they not in hype? It's because the globality of the genre is not making enough revenue. So all of the labels are basically hype labels. What does that mean? That means that if we have a hype chart, it's going to be a duplicate of the main chart. So it's going to just be the same thing ultimately. But having said that, Afro House has been increasing quite a lot in terms of revenue, and it's very, very popular. So I think we're going to revisit that soon. But in general, it's mostly because of the revenue of the genre being too low. That's usually the reason, and meaning that there is actually enough space and the content of the genre. There's not that much breaks every week, and so we have enough space to feature everything. Compared to other genres that are really, really, really big and need the extra space as well. Is there any place where the music still matters? I mean, how the music sounds and is composed, not how good the creator looks in social media. Music is everything. Music is number one decision. I would rather feature a song that sounds good than feature a song that doesn't sound good, but is coming from a number one pop star or a number one DJ. Always, and I inform my team and I tell them to put the music they like, the music that sounds good, and it's always about the music. There's obviously many other factors. I'm not going to say that it's not the case, but music always comes first. Beyond having great music, what is the top thing that will put most releases over the edge when deciding to feature them in an editorial playlist, chart, or store? Exclusives. If you're giving your music exclusive to us, it's definitely a big thing, and we'll get more chances of featuring. The things I mentioned before: brand identity, social media presence, videos of your content, engagement from the label and artists with Beatport, DJ charts, playlists. Getting a great working relationship with your distributor is a huge important thing for you to do, so that they can also help you. How many units must be sold in pre-order before Beatport features an artist? 0. If the music sounds good and we see it and hear it, we will feature it. How do you avoid auto buyers from racking up positions and ranking? We have an anti-fraud system which deals with that, and there is no boosting of the sales charts. Otherwise, it would otherwise it wouldn't look as it looks today. Do you also select tracks based upon album art, such as eye-catching or innovative art? I would say yes, but music comes first. But if you have a nice artwork and it's a nice branding and everything, definitely will be eye-catching and we'll listen to it. And yeah, definitely. Is Beatport now focusing more on new artists and sidelining veteran classic artists? No, I think we keep a balance with everything, new and old. We have to respect the old. They're here. We're here because of their influence on us, I think, as well. There's a lot of respect in our legacy and where the music comes from, and that's very important. So new and old and everything and everyone. Please list the items Beatport is most interested in when selecting features. Again, music quality, arrangement, fit for the dance floor, good mix, good master, no offensive or non-inclusive behavior. Some things, is it popping off right now? Is it like all over the internet? Is it being played in all the clubs? Has it been Shazammed everywhere? Is it big on many different factors? But I think music quality comes first. Um, oh, Marina, you took one from me right there. It's your
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah, guys, so we are basically following this list from all the questions that you submitted in the past few days. And I just wanted to mention we got some questions from three labels. One of them is Terranova Records. I don't know if you're here, BB Fair, and Places. Just to let you guys were asking, I've been paying for Hive for a long time and I don't see the value. We haven't been featured. I checked personally. I wanted to run a report on our back end, and I check, and you guys are getting featured. So I will say, check with your distribution company, and they can pass the question to us, and we can provide that info for you. But I've seen that you guys have been getting features like Hype new release features, even some banners. For Places, I think that you guys are releasing on Melodic House and Techno, if I'm not wrong. So please check with your distribution company because yes, I'm seeing features here and probably you're missing them. Raf, I think
I
this one
think you
is
can
for you.
continue now.
Sorry?
I think you can continue now, or?
Okay, I think there's one for you. There are three for you, and then I'm happy to. I mean, I can also answer some of yours. I don't mind.
Um, I just I, I just see like after my name, I just see four or five times your name now. So
Okay. So yeah, I think there's one that we already answered. What are the advantages of releasing exclusively on Beatport? Also, I mean, something that I didn't mention before, but if you guys really want to make it into the charts, you can do a 2 weeks exclusive with us and then release the track everywhere else or the EP or the album. And that means that for 2 weeks, all your sales, they are just going to be on Beatport. So the chances of charting are much higher than if you spread out those sales across different stores. So you can also keep your release date and maybe give us the exclusivity 2 weeks before, something to maybe consider. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Also, what else? What do I need to become verified on Beatport? Nothing. We don't have verified artists or labels. So just wanted to clarify that we don't have that. So yeah. Sometimes Beatport uploads my track into a different genre. Why is this happening and why do you change it? I mean, as Raf said before, we know that the genre topic it's very popular, and we also know that it's been controversial sometimes. It's been funny sometimes. We are really trying to make a good job and trying to think what we think is best. And sometimes we receive stuff that is delivering to the wrong genre. Also, sometimes if the distribution company is not specialized in electronic music, when you guys are doing the delivery setup on the software, the drop-down menu probably has electronic or dance as the main genre, and then there are no subgenres. So that also can be a reason why we are receiving the wrong genre, and it's because your distribution company doesn't have that drop-down menu. But most of the time when we receive something and we change it is because we feel that that is not the correct genre, and we think that there is like another spot, another genre that is going to fit that sound best. Also check the audio examples. They are available in the store. We created, I mean, the curators, they created charts for all the genres, and you can listen to all those charts and see what is the sound that we are trying to push in those genres. So that gives you an overview and an idea. And I think the next ones, Raf, are new, or am I missing something?
and maybe we're looking at the different sheet. Are you on the Google Doc or on the Excel?
Yeah, I'm on the Google Doc.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Weird. Oh, you're.
I'm
I still,
checking now the new ones.
I still see some questions for me.
Okay, go for it.
You answered those. Now you're getting approached by a label. What are some characteristics you need to pay attention to in order to make sure you make the right choice? As I mentioned before, I think the vision of the label, the branding, the fan base, what are they doing? What are they conveying? Does it resonate with you? And if it does, then I would definitely consider trying to release with them. There are also some new questions that I can maybe quickly, I've just read them already. Isn't there enough demand currently to create a Latin house genre? Seems like the trend at the moment, but I've only seen it under tech house as a subgenre. It really depends on the definition you have of Latin house. Tech house has a Latin tech subgenre. We don't consider that Latin house. If you consider Latin house, the things that you would hear from Louis Vega and Masters at Work, that is currently under house. And if you're listening to more the tech house, Latin tech with the reggaeton samples, reggaeton vocals, those are all made up of tech house instrumentals, and we consider that to be tech house. But we wanted to recognize this subgenre and this culture, which is huge and booming, and that's why we call it Latin tech. As far as Latin house, I'm a huge Latin house fan. I just think there's not enough content, new content each week to warrant a standalone genre at this point in time. Our genre is set by the label artists. Do curators change and move things around according to sound, style, etc.? At first glance, I'm not exactly sure where my music would sit according to the genre shown. So when you are the label and you send your music to the distributor, you set a genre that gets then sent over to us and enters our system with the genre. Our curation team will go through that content, and if they disagree, they'll change it, basically. And if they agree, obviously they will leave it. They always change it in the best interest of the artist and the label to make sure that it fits according to our sound. Verity, I'm not sure if you can send the audio examples in the chat. We have a whole landing page with an audio example chart which shows the sound of each genre. Are marketing results only interesting before releases or also afterwards? I think marketing results are interesting, but we get so many of them that it can be a little difficult to check them out all the time. But if it has a BBC One essential mix, it's always important to know that. And the support from big artists in their sets, it's also very important. So yeah. How does it work with the hype charts? Is it made by your team manually or an automatic criteria? This is purely based on sales. The charts and the main charts are all based on purchases made by customers. So there is no manual, nothing like that. Marina.
Okay. Is there a hard deadline for support material? When does Beatport pick the feature content? Is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Okay, so just to give you an idea, this week I pitched to the curators everything that is coming out next Friday. But for me to receive those priorities from the distribution companies, the distribution companies sent it to me even Friday last week or maybe Monday this week. So that means that they also have some lead times and they have their own calendar. So I would say try to deliver your music to your distribution company 4 weeks in advance. If that is a lot, do 3 weeks, because then we're going to need those 2 weeks to work internally between label managers and curation. I hope that answers your question. When is hype for Techno Raw coming? Raf, I don't know if you have any idea. I don't know if this is happening.
Yeah,
I will see this happen.
I think this is a good a reminder for us, and I really appreciate the questions. And I think we'll take the feedback and we'll talk with the label team and we'll analyze the genres a little bit. And maybe it's time for some of these genres to have a hype genre. Like I said before, the reason is based on content and revenue, but we'll take a look. We will take a look.
Yeah. Also, another question is the 15K revenue threshold Beatport sales only or includes the streaming? No, it's just based on the download store. And also, I remember someone else asked if it's like whole revenue like in other platforms, other stores. No, it's just on Beatport, beatport.com. If I surpass the 15K threshold, am I gonna get automatically canceled? No, but we are constantly running reports to see which are the labels that they are above the threshold. And as I said before, a few times during the year, we notify those labels and we let them know that they are going to be out of hype. We try to give you guys normally 2-3 months period, so you can work around your release schedule and maybe see if you want to squeeze some last releases into the hype category. We are never gonna kick you out of hype from one day to the other or 1 month to the other. We are gonna give you some lead times to be ready. But yeah, if you're not gonna get automatically canceled from hype. And then what else?
I see one there, which is, can you submit a DJ chart at any time for possible feature, or does it have to be ahead of a release or leading up to a release? I think that it's always important to have a DJ chart when you have a release. That's extremely important. But if you have a DJ chart with good music on there, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't feature it. So anytime really, but I do encourage around the release time as well. Does Bandcamp count regarding exclusives or just track source? Juno, and basically if it's a download store, it doesn't count. So the Beatport should be the only download store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've seen one question here: how many sales do you need to make it into the tech house chart? That is the number $1 million question. We don't share any numbers when it comes to our charts, FYI. And if you see anything online, don't trust them, because we haven't shared that information, like, never.
Yeah, and it is a well thought and completely legitimate system.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess maybe that's it.
Yeah, I'm checking the comments here. I hope you guys find it helpful and useful. And thank you so much for joining today, for your time. Thank you so much to our marketing team for putting this together and for setting everything up as well.
Absolutely.
And please reach out to your distribution company to try to get more information from Beatport. Also, the recording, I believe, is going to be available for a few days. You will get a notification from us. And if you found it useful, let us know, and we can probably organize something in a few months.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. Hope you will benefit from all this information.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Ciao.